we will continue today and close on out with a different topic from what I was going to do. And the other ones we'll do them tomorrow or throughout the week. But for this one, we are going to continue with what an empowered woman knows, which is that trauma, yes, it's relational. So intimacy is the core. And no, we don't fix men or partners for those who have partners of women or theys. Okay, but as an empowered woman, solo polyamory here, I don't fix anyone, none of my partners, and I also, as a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, know that I'm not going to affect some other person's state of consciousness because the will to live comes from their heart, not mine. So their inner child is where if they don't get it back and reparent, they're going to feel alone. And the Pinocchios with the ears and the tails, they don't believe magic works through their own inner child because they don't regain kindness. They stay within the inner critic and then the outer critic and the maladaptive child behavior, and they say they're smart, but then they go do the fucking drinking, drugging, and alcoholing and self-soothing mechanisms, and then they create groups about how to stay within the maladaptive child behavior by pathologizing themselves and not noticing that there's a work that they can do with a good therapist to negotiate with them. But, again, that's the part of why they're Pinocchios with ears and tails, because they're going to make up some excuse to themselves. And, anyways, an empowered woman, what we do know is that how you treat us is going to be a reflection of if you have a maladaptive child behavior or not. Okay, and no, you're not broken. Nobody's broken. Trauma, there's trauma charges, there's childhood developmental trauma. So when you're attachment trauma informed, but you're also woo-woo, 5D mystic here in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, pseudoscience, because I bring human, spiritual, and spirituality elements together. Okay, so I integrate a lot of great pieces of information because I'm a content creator and entrepreneur, but also as an empowered woman, I'm using my prefrontal cortex. I'm curious, open, accepting, and loving because you represent no threat. You have no weapon in your hand, and I have a really great sixth sense, seventh and eighth sense in all my senses because I'm curious, because my mammalian heritage is the restorative embodiment, and I got here for me because I'm lucky. See, I got here because I learned that I'm different than my twin, but I'm not defective because I have a secure attachment household, and then because I know how to regulate my nervous system when I'm having panic attacks. Thank you, energy body expansion, light body expansion, rainbow body, Kundalini awakening, spirituality awakening. The 4D mystics, they're always in a tragedy world, calling people energy vampires, narcissists, and saying we attract them because we're going to heal them, and nobody's broken. It sounds like saviors, which are blamers, which are, wait a minute, the victims from the codependent type group. The ones who are, oh look, I have a cross to bear, and they actually compare themselves to people from our past, and that sounds quite egoic. And also, you don't know your human name. Oh wait, you might not even be using it because with Claire's you think you're anointed and special, and that you did something wrong when you got the, what is it? Some of them have had 4D mystics. They get where they see things and they're like, oh, I should have done something. You couldn't have done something. And then they blame themselves, and then they feel that they have a cross to bear. And really what it is their window of tolerance, and they're not going to journal and do the mindfulness that could help them to work to expand that window of tolerance. Because see, your window of tolerance can expand, but you need to begin working with it first. And some people, they don't realize that they re-traumatize themselves as they do the inner critic shame cycle rumination, and when they come to tell you while structurally dissociated what's going on and you bring them back online, they don't always like to be interrupted because they're on a roll. And that's not positive, because on a roll means you're just reliving your 0-1-year-old attached panicky, your 3 to 7 shame submissive, and those are the unconscious karma charged parts that every person, the basic foundation you can work with. Now, if you have a fragmented sense of self, well, that's a lot more work to do, but with awareness, you'll know that you're not broken too. I have a great course I took with Daniel Siegel. Thank you, Daniel. It's Disorganized Attachment and Dissociative Identity Disorder, and in it, I got to meet one of Daniel's patients who's a therapist, and she's healed, and as she shares, she's writing a book, she's like, I want people to know that they're not broken, the ones who have alters. They don't call them alters in that course, but other courses and other trauma experts do. And also it took 6 to 7 years for the consciousness and memory barriers to come down all on their own But that's the point. The person is not broken, nor is the inner world, but it took that time in a safe space, in this case with Daniel, but it took her to want to continue doing that. Okay, so when a man, or a person for that matter, has a shame cycle, an empowered woman will know what's going on, but we don't have permission to say to somebody, hey, I think you got childhood trauma going on, because, that would be pretty rude. But if people are loved ones, we can talk to them about things. So I share buttload of information here and with my loved ones, and here's something that we're going to look at, okay, with the conversation. Okay, so one, yeah, stereotypes, they're not anywhere near women who are empowered. And yes, biologically, we can know of differences between the cerebral aspect, the brain and stuff, but that doesn't mean we're going to apply stereotypes. So when I hear women who think they're empowered by saying that men need fixing, or vice versa, I disregard teenager attitude, because they're the ones who need the labels and identifiers. Anybody who needs to use a bunch of words to, say this is what we are and that's it, it makes me think of Pirates of the Caribbean, where they say, it's only a set of guidelines. It's not really like fixed in stone. Yourself is not fixed in stone, which is why you are not broken. But if you choose to be gloomy and sad and to keep on doing the wheel of karma or rumination, so to not take that inner child of yours and reparent, and thank you, Patrick Tiahan, it means emotional lifting for those with childhood trauma, and it is tiresome. So he shares all about it, and that's why he shares with his community those who are cowardice, those who do not want to do emotional lifting, that will continue to be unkind because they do not reclaim their humanity. They do not reclaim their mammalian heritage. They don't move into the magic that works through them and then become, just like all of us, overflowing with humanity and divinity descends. Nope. They don't do that. They don't do the human love narrative, though they're going to speak the human suffering one, but they want to make up that there's some magic star and different than humans. So, okay, when you are authentically you and you believe in yourself, you'll also believe in others, and we are generous of spirit. When we're integrated, integration of the brain is what creates independence and, again, healthy boundaries. It's a conversation. So man, woman, they, partners don't need fixing. And let's talk about this. Thank you, Terry Real. He has a great course coming up. I think it's free. And he shares when you and another human being are emotionally mature, you won't be reactive. When, on the other hand, people have insecurities, they will be reactive. And then it depends on, obviously, the relationship you have with people. Now, the great thing about empowered women, yes, we know, again, intuitively that trauma, it's relational, but we don't use the word trauma. It's if you treat me unkindly, I'm going to know because you're using your mouth with me, and I'm going to be like, hey, what's going on? Because that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be quiet, hide away, think that I need to yell at you. I won't deflect, all that great stuff. I'm not going to say I need to fix you. No, I'm going to say, what's up? We want to talk? No? Okay, so life partners, we support each other, always, together. There's no scales. You don't tell me, hey, I got 20%. You can't come in here. This is what, math? Are we doing math? So when people still need to get their inner child going, there's therapy for that. But if we're talking about partnership, no man, no woman, no they needs to fix anybody. So thank you, Terry Real. All trauma is relational, and intimacy is the core. Your partner cannot fix you. So when people complain about therapy online, and then they're in a group, and they pathologize, I call those teenagers Pinocchios with ears and tails, and they're Peter Pans with lost boys. Okay? We're all Pachas over here. So we want to be emotionally aware, accountable, and we self-regulate. That's an empowered woman for you, man or they. So we come in and say, hey, we're having a good time today, but today I had some shit go down. Okay, we'll want to talk about it. What do we want to do to create substance? No of the, let me go get distracted with something. Let me go waste some time in an empty void, because see, that's the whole point. You don't create resiliency of your integration of brain capacity without you doing something from here and here. So I want to get distracted means I'm not going to process. Witnessing, processing, welcoming the inner child. This is the way that you welcome all of yourself home. And you're not broken. It's called emotional expansion of the window of tolerance for those who don't have the emotional window of welcome. Okay? And let's talk a little bit with this lovely lady. Her name is Julianne Taylor Shore in our last minutes LPCS, LMFT, SEP. She's founder of IPNB Psychotherapy of Austin. She's from one of my classes with NICABM. Okay, so she shares about the brain and how it has a layer on the top part of it, and it's called the neocortex, and the neocortex is built up of tons and tons and millions of little columns of 6 neurons in a row, and the bottom 2 neurons get their feed, their information from parts of the brain that are experiencing the here and now. Top neurons of the 6 get their information from what you already know, implicit memory system, and then those other 2, come together in the middle, and that's how we form reality. Now, the people who don't want to believe in how the brain is made, I guess what can we say? But the point is that neurobiology shows that your past always comes with you. And that is why people who have their inner child but don't reparent, they will project maladaptive child behavior, which is maladaptive because it's a dysfunctional behavior with the 0-1-year-old attached, panicky, 3 to 7 shame, submissive. Again, and it's not something that we will be able to do anything about, because when the adaptive child is in a dysfunctional mannerism, their nervous system, so their brainstem already decided whether it's attach, cry, collapse, submit, please, appease. They're in their biological rudeness, as Stephen Porges would say, so they're not really online with you, even though they are. So even if you say you're in structural dissociation as you're experiencing somebody who is projecting at you something, they will say, no, I'm consciously aware of what I'm doing. If you give them the psych education, they will not necessarily believe it, my lovely listeners and viewers right now. And what I'm going to say is, I'm a person who likes to be honest with people, always, not sometimes, and because I'm a grown-up, meaning I have emotional maturity. Even as a kid, I'm like, why shouldn't I share with you something that is empowering? I get it. You don't want to use your brain, so you're going to be an emotional, lazy, and mental lazy person, but you're going to want me to use the word smart with you. You want me to say that you're smart. Intellectually, though. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have a little bit of a challenge looking at you eventually, because you're not intellectually smart. So I get it. I'm pseudoscience woo-woo lady, 5D mystic. You name it, all the clairs, but what I'm not is stupid to the degree of not knowing what I'm learning and assimilating. So if you want to be a flat earther, be my guest. And this is the part, no man, no woman, no they is broken. No human being is broken. If they get educated enough in attachment trauma, they will know. Thank you, Sadhguru. New, challenging situations are possibilities, not problems, Sadhguru. And like Albert Einstein says, stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. So yeah. Human love narrative, we totally get it. The shame defectiveness button of people, they need to become self-aware. Once they do, and they notice, oh, I'm deserving of love. Really, I want to be loved. Oh, look, there's healthy self-worth people. They're going to tell me in my face what I can do. Oh, look, they are going to tell me, yes, life, no meaning except for whatever you want to give it. Secondary consciousness, human condition. The inner growth mindset is really great, but you need to want to do emotional lifting and mental lifting, and then to actually say, wow, I can be proud to know that I'm mentally, emotionally, intelligent, and physically, because hey, we're mastering Akash, by the way, my lovely mystics. It's beautiful, and that's part of what I got to learn as I'm a self-taught Akashic record reading. So lovingly accepting each other and being ourselves is once you reclaim your inner child, or you never lost it. That's where I come from. So being myself as a 3-year-old, whole heart, I don't feel shame, and I don't fault, blame, or do any of that. When I do meet attachment, envy, and jealousy people, those who do revenge, vengeance, I'm sad for them, because they could reclaim their inner child, and they could do a lot of great stuff with themselves and then with each other. And as the Dalai Lama shares, we can approach life with laughter and love, not in spite of all the suffering, but actually because of it. And he shares, or Daniel Siegel is the one who shares, that we kind of had the responsibility. And I say, no. As an independent 0-1-year-old, that's why I'm a solo polyamory, because I know how to regulate my own nervous system, and I know I cannot physically regulate yours. So meaning for life, I can't have you feel it, because not in your body. Even if I'm recalibrated to my mammalian heritage, which I'm always on, I find it fascinating when you know of people who are like, what, you can't always be on, like the Zen master guy. Really? I thought you were smart. I know I'm not smart, but I know how to be on. But wait, I didn't lose my inner child, so I know I have the ability to bring joy into the world. So when I see the people who are like, ugh, like, oh, well, you don't want to be a human love button, but you want to be a Pinocchio with ears, or maybe you want to be a Cusco, or maybe you want to be a squirrel, or maybe you want to be an Ursula. So in the meantime, let's just remember that partners, we fly together, okay? That's because we do understand it. Emotions, you choose how you want to process it. The ones who are not willing to become self-aware, self-reflective, to know about the emotional plane, to learn about neurobiology, neuroscience, there's no demon that possesses people. Mystics, 5D mystics, come on over. The 4D are really creating a shit show of what is actually something very different when you have a relationship with the sphere of consciousness. And remember, spirituality, it is the way of life and meaning beyond the solo self. So there's me and there's other. And why integration of the brain? I'm a differentiated self. My name's Maria. You're all viewers. We create a we, as Daniel Siegel will present, because I don't need you to feel and think the same way I am, and nor do you want to. That's why we're Maha Samadhi Samadhi. We're independent thinkers and feelers. My words are food for thought. Your words are food for thought, and then we get together and build a future as we vote and we make decisions, and we can do emotional maturity because it's restorative embodiment and integration of the brain. It's not a special gift to be in a flow state, but it is a choice of whenever stuff comes up, instead of throwing it and using stereotypes. So yes, man, they don't need fixing. A man will be a man in my book when he can take his emotions and his thoughts and be an actual partner, which means that we walk together. Again, nobody's a ball and chain. These are figures of speech that come from people who live in their survival mode, by the way, not in their higher social engagement system. So tune in for more. Please be kind and compassionate. Have a great day.